Bar Ilan University from Tel Aviv, and we dug at a site called Tel Timnat Serah. And this site is mentioned in Joshua chapter 19. If I can get it to advance. Now it's not advancing again. I wonder if my battery is... There we go. All right. Joshua 19, verse 49. It says, when they had made an end of dividing the land for inheritance by their coasts, the children of Israel gave an inheritance to Joshua, the son of Nun, among them. According to the word of the Lord, they gave him the city which he asked, even Timnat Serah in Mount Ephraim, and he built the city and dwelt there. And it's also mentioned at the end, Joshua chapter 24, verse 29, after these things, Joshua, son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died at the age of 110. And in Egypt, 110 was a full life, considered a full life. And they buried him in the land of his inheritance at Timnat Serah in the hill country of Ephraim, north of Mount Gosh. I don't know exactly where this Mount Gosh is, but it's mentioned again in Judges 2. They buried him in the land of his inheritance at Timnath Erez. Erez means son. In the hill country of Ephraim, north of Mount Gosh. So it has several names, Timnat Serah, Timnat Erez, and then it changes over time. The Romans called it something different, and then they call it something different today. So the geography and location. Let me see if I can get the pointer to work. Let's see. Okay, so here is Jerusalem. Here's Tel Aviv over here. And right here is Tel Timnah. So it is, and if we look on the right, this is the 12 tribes and their inheritance and their lands divided up. Right here is Ephraim, and Dan is right below it. So it would have been right here in the southern part of Ephraim. Will you advance, please? I don't know. Maybe I need a new battery. This is a map that's more, I think the names of these cities are during the Roman period. And so during this time it was called Thamnatha, and it was right here. Let's see. Here is Shiloh. Jerusalem's down here. And let's see what else is nearby. Over here is the Jordan Valley. So it was just on the western side of the hill country. All right, here's a drone shot of it. This is the site where we were digging, and this is looking to the west. And a little bit later, I'll talk about its occupational history, what we find there. And in this valley right here, this was actually an ancient Roman road that a modern road now follows. So, let's see. So yeah, like I said, this is facing west. On the south side over here, there's some tombs on the side of this hill. There's tombs over here. There's tombs on the side of this hill. They surround the Tel, the ancient city. Occupational history. Now this is based on surveys that were done starting back in the late 60s and then into the 80s, and then another survey done recently, just in the past several years. And what they do is they just look at the surface and gather pottery, and they date those pottery shards, and that's how they know the time periods. So they found pottery that date to the Middle Bronze II, which was basically between Joshua and Abraham, somewhere in that time period. And then Iron I, Judges period, that's basically Joshua. Iron II, the Israelite kingdom. There was an administrative city at this site at that time. We found material culture from the Persian period. It's the 6th and 4th century BC. The Hasmonean period, the 2nd through the 1st century, and the Maccabees, their rebellion against the Greek Seleucids during this time. And we found a lot of coins that date to this time period, Seleucid coins. It was fortified to protect the supply chain from the north, so this was a major route that went right by it, to that old, I showed you earlier, on the south side of the city, and is also known as Thamnata. Will you advance, please?
And what was the elevation of the mound? It was talking about that.
I'm not sure. I don't know that. The next occupational period was the Herodian, early Roman, 1st century BC to 1st AD. It was settled by the Jews there, the capital city of Tibna province. The Jews revolted against the Romans during this time, and Bar Kokhba revolt, which is 132 to 136 AD, that's mainly the area that we were digging in, and we found a destruction layer that dated to that time period, the Bar Kokhba revolt. And I'll show you some of the stuff we found a little bit later. It was next occupied late Roman, Byzantine period. There was a early a Christian church, Byzantine church, was reported there. This says Roman road passed by the south of the tell. So this is 2nd century to 7th century AD. Will you advance, please? There's a Crusader ruins there, fort, and I got to crawl in a little bit of it, but I stopped. So that's 11th to 13th century. There was also a mosque there, an Arab village. There's evidence of pottery from the Ottoman period, 14th to 20th century, and also Jordanian, is 1960s, the Six-Day War in 67, and there's trenches all over the top of that hill, and a lot of those trenches actually destroyed some of our nice ruins that we would be digging in. So we have to take that in consideration as we're digging down. Like, oh, well, the Jordanians were here. We find something modern that's down that shouldn't be there. Next one, please. Here's our typical work day. So we'd wake up about 4:30, drive to the dig site at 5:15 or so. It was only about 5-10 minutes to get there, so we were really close. Once we got there, we carried the equipment up the hill from our trailer. Let me back up though. Before we get there, we have security. We have IDF soldiers there. They check over the site before we walk up there because this is in the West Bank, and there is pretty tense area. And in other sites, they've been known to like plant some booby traps and bombs and things. So we have security go up there first to clear the area for us. And they were there with us the whole time we're digging. We had 3 or 4 guys there with us with machine guns. We start digging at 5:45 approximately. Coffee, tea break. I loved it. We'd go out there and set up a little burner and have some Jordanian coffee. Then we have breakfast on the site, 9:45. Dig some more, and then a fruit break. We usually have a local farmer bring in some really good watermelon or cantaloupe. And then at 1, we'd break down the camp. We'd carry all the equipment back down and load it on the trailer again, and then drive back to the dig house. Then we'd have a late lunch, and then pottery washing and recording at 4 o'clock. So I'll show you some pictures in a little bit, but we'd gather around, and all the pottery that we found that day, we'd wash it really good, and then after they wash it, the director and some of the other staff would date it and then record it and put it in baggies. Some days we'd have a lecture. We'd have some instructors or archaeologists from other sites, and they'd visit for the evening and give us reports on their sites. So that was pretty neat to have. And then supper, and then we're usually in bed by 8, so we can get up and go at it again. All right, will you advance, please? All right, here's the staff. This is Devere, and this is Avraham. They're the 2 directors of the dig. And these are some of his students there at Bar Ilan University. So Devere here he lectures and is the instructor there at Bar Ilan of the archaeology department. Great group. I think they're all of them are Jewish. I think I was the only Christian there. But they were very hospitable, kind. Shimon, right here, he speaks very good English, and he was my translator basically the whole time I was there. He picked me up from the airport, great guy, and he's actually a travel guy, a guide over there is what he does on the side. Let's see. Boaz, he was a area supervisor. I'm trying to think if I remember their names. Shira and Rose. I can't remember these 2, but anyway, great team. And here's more of the volunteers. And we'd have different volunteers almost every week. We'd have some that would get off of work for a couple days, and they'd come dig with us. And so people were coming and going. Here I am over here, and there's the director in the middle. So this is facing, this is where we had the trailer on the lower part of the tail, and we would walk back up this way, up the tail. All right. This isn't going to, I don't think this is going to work. Huh? Do I need to point it? Hold on. there we go. Nope. Wow. We did try this yesterday, and it worked all the way to the choir door. Okay, securing the perimeter. Here is one of the IDF soldiers. Let me point over here. Right here. And this is our digs area A, and we have another guy right here. Okay, let's see. This is us taking the equipment up early in the morning. We have these shade cloths set up, so it was pretty nice. So you really didn't even have to put sunscreen on. These shade cloths were great. It knocked the temperature down probably, I don't know, 20 degrees maybe. It was pretty nice. And then after the morning, you know, I guess around 10 o'clock, we had a constant breeze too. And these shade cloths were just flopping in the wind. So it was pretty nice. Not as hot as you would think. Picture of the sunrise. And we would have these bags, sandbags, the perimeter of each square that we're digging, so that, you know, as we're digging, the sand doesn't make it collapse on the edges. We're filling these buckets with the dirt that we're digging up, and we'll just dump it off the side of the hill. This is our breakfast setup. We walk down the tail, and we just have some mats laid out, and we'd sit down on the ground with these mats under the shade cloth, and man, they eat very, very healthy. A lot of fruit, a lot of vegetables, a lot of tuna and eggs, so which was great for my cholesterol problem. So this is a shot of area B. We had 4 areas, A, B, C, and D. This one's B, and I'll show you a little bit of this feature here, but all of this is pottery that they're bringing up. And we'll later have to wash all of that, and then we didn't keep all of it. We only kept like half of it, but the director makes that choice, what is significant, what is not. And then the next day, what we don't want, we'll bring it back to the site and dump it on the side of the hill. Each bucket would give a locus number, and so once we get, as you're digging down, you have, let's say you have a plaster surface. That gets assigned a locus number to know what context you're digging in. Once you get below that plaster, you're at a different time period. And so you get another bucket with a new locus number, and that's how we know, how we keep our dates and what kind of context material that we're digging in. And we'd have these tags that we put the locus number on, the area, and the dates, the site, and we'd have this tag, this string, and we'd tie it to the bucket. Keep them all separate. Here's pottery washing after we got back. So we'd take a little brush and a little bit of water and just brush every one of them, get the dirt off of it. And then we'd set it in a cardboard box out in the sun for it to dry. Once it dried, then the director and some of the other staff would sit at the table and date every piece, what time period it was from. And we were staying at a Jewish community, at a Jewish school, and so we'd have kids come in and we'd show them how to wash the pottery, so we got them involved, so it was pretty neat learning experience. After the pottery's washed, we would record them, This is David. I dug with him. He's recording, writing real small on each of these fragments of pottery. And then we put them in baggies. It's assigned a number. One of the number is like I said, the area, and then the locus number. And this is inside our kitchen/dig house, whatever you want to call it, where we'd gather for lectures as well. This is all the pottery that we would take back to the site, and this is just one day. It was basically that much every day we would take back that we wouldn't keep. Because sometimes we'd have volunteers that they just kept everything they saw, you know, and we can't just micromanage, like, no, keep that, you know. We just go in real fast and go through it later. All right, here's one of the main features that we found, that we uncovered. We knew it was there. We knew we had some kind of cistern, but only part of it was exposed. So as we started digging down further, we saw the steps coming down, and we knew it was a mikveh, which is a ritual Jewish bath for purity. And we date this to that Bar Kokhba revolt, about the 2nd century AD. This is part of the process of digging it out, and we put these sandbags to make it easier to walk down to the bottom. There was an entry door on the side, but over here is the main entrance. And this is the director at the end of the dig. And I don't know if y'all can see those steps going down. So it was first used as a mikveh, and then later on in another period, somebody used it as a cistern for water. We found canals up here above it that would flow down, we think, that flowed down into the cistern. Here's a good area, drone shot of it, and right here are these canals right in here. This is a plastered surface. Found a really nice storage pot right here. So this is area A, looking to the north. Area B, where I dug, was up here. All right, here's the test. Tell me what you see here. If you see anything at all.
Something else there on the right, it looks like round stone.
Yeah, right here, absolutely. And this right here in the middle was actually what we call a balk. So this was a square over here where someone were digging, and on this side was a square where someone's digging. And we'd leave the balk in the middle, 1 meter wide, just to make it easy for people to walk access to each square. And after you dig so far down, it can get dangerous, because then, you know, you got a wall that's 2 foot high or so. So then we take out the balk that's in between the squares, which is this part. We're starting to take this out. But if you notice on the left side in this other square, there's a few stones kind of right here. If you follow these stones in a circle, you'll make a complete circle. So these are some of the things we look for. And let me show you. After taking the balk out, this is it. So this is the circle we're looking at. Some of the other things we look for, on the left is a wall. Right here you can see that line. Right below it is another line of rocks, stones, and then another line below that. So these basically support the main wall in the middle. You'll have another line of rocks at the bottom of the foundation to support it. They call them, some of them call them like chinking rocks, you know. So what we found out is this circle was a kiln. And we're digging half of it for now, so we can see the stratigraphy on the right side. The the change of the soil as they dig down. And unfortunately, we had to stop. I don't know how far down it goes yet. This is another good shot. It shows different, tools and things that we dug with. The blue buckets we used for pottery and whatever we found. The black buckets we used just for dirt. We've got a pickaxe to remove a lot of material at once. We've got a small, what I call it, a little pastiche, little pick. And right here is a trowel for, being real intricate, I guess you'd say. And we got, let's see, dustpans, brushes. This one is more like a hoe. I call it, what did we call that thing? Not a pastiche. Well, it's basically a hoe, and to get all the dirt into the black buckets. Let's see. This is us standing in the kiln before we dug down. Let's see. I dug basically back here a lot, right next to the kiln. And what you see here is a part of a column that's in secondary use. So this was a column that was in a building before this time period that it's used as almost like what we found is it's almost like a square of just a whole bunch of stones. So I think it was the base of a tower that was there. And an explorer in the in the 19th century, I think it was in the late 1800s, an explorer went there and he saw what was the base of a tower. And so I don't know if that's it, but it's possible. And this is looking at that from the west, this big pile of rocks, basically. But it does make a square, so that's why I think it was a tower. And I don't know if y'all can see this. There's a line of stones right here. Y'all see that? And then on this side. So this was a wall. Usually you have 2 stones wide of a wall. It was a typical width of a wall. Let's see. All right, here's another drone pic of the area we just looked at. Over here is that kiln, and then this is that square, what could be the base of a tower. Up here was another water canal. Over here we found there's a plaster surface right here, and then I'll show you some more pictures what we found below that plaster surface. It's really neat. Down here at a lower level, we got down to Iron 1 late bronze material culture, some pottery. All right, so that was A. This is area B, where the cistern and mikveh is. Right here's the mikveh, facing towards the valley to the south. Some of the material culture we found, a lot of coins. This is the director with his metal detector. Every so often, almost every day, he'd come into your square. We'd remove all of our tools, out of the way for him. And they found over 100 coins. It's a lot, right? So they found, this one was in my square that he found, and really can't tell the detail of this one. They didn't clean it up yet. But he said it dated to the Seleucid time period, and this is a Seleucid coin. I do remember seeing some of these lines on it, similar to this. So I think it was this design. Maccabees, Seleucid. So the Maccabees were known for, their ships, their naval fleet. And so this is an anchor that represents the Maccabees. I also found this one. This is part of an oil lamp, and it's Herodian. As you can see, the similarity of this to this. You see that? And this flares out. That's the difference you find in the oil lamps change almost every 200 years or so, their design. And so the Herodian lamp flared out right here where the wick would have gone. These are a lot of sling stones. And, we know that the Jews were fighting the Romans, they're defending their city, so it's likely they use these sling stones for that. Different kinds of material they're made out of, some of them out of basalt, like a black volcanic type rock. Some of them are limestone. I believe this one here is limestone. This small one up here is basalt. We have some that are made out of flint. Here we came down on a shattered storage jar. And when you find a whole bunch of pieces of it, you don't remove them, you try to work around it so you can see how it crushed. And we take these real fine brushes to sweep the dirt off of it. It takes a while. But it makes a really good picture, and you can see how it was destroyed. Sometimes it was like a rock right on top of a really nice pot. And then right behind me, in this corner, and in this corner actually as well, we found dagger points. We found 3 of them. And this is a spear point we found at the tail. And let's see, this is some kind of jewelry I found the very last day I was there. We usually only dig in the morning, but that last day, there were some of us, we're down to the last week. So we'd go out there and dig in the afternoons as well. And so I went out there in the afternoon and found this on the last day. We think it was maybe an earring or something like that. And it was found right here. So this was a really, really good square. Really nice, well, almost a complete pot. I believe this is an amphora, like a storage pot. This was found in Area B. Other features that we didn't dig. This is kind of hard to tell what this is, but this was part of the Crusader fort, some of their tunnels. And you can see the arch right here. And then you have a really huge stone. So I crawled in there a little ways, and this is what I could see. There's a huge stone right here, which below this stone would have been the entrance, which is filled in over the years. So I would love to go back and dig through there, but there was... To the right of this was another passageway that went further down here. So this was Crusader. On the left is the picture of the Jordanian, one of their trenches. They would cover it with these, concrete blocks, basically, on top of it. They're throughout the whole top of the hill. On the right is just one of the caves, one of the many. There's probably 100 caves surrounding the site. Right now, there's some local, they let their goats and sheep and cattle just roam free, and they'll go in these caves. Some afternoons we'd go off and venture off and find some other things to look at. So this was a spring that was nearby, and on the other side of the ancient Roman road that I showed you. And the Romans stopped here. There was kind of a cultic site for the Romans. They had at one point there was some kind of statue like. Chiseled into the side of this rock. And up here, So cattle still go here, that the spring is still flowing. So that's pretty neat. And this water is really cold. We also went to some other tombs in the area. This is a huge Roman tomb. Behind us is another small entrance behind here that opens up into a lot of tombs. This is just one of the many that we went to. I think this site was called Tabud. Tabud, yeah. And this is a panoramic shot I took that last week. It was early in the morning, so over here is facing the east. Let's see, did I cover everything? I guess I did. Y'all have any questions? I feel like I left out a lot.
So how hot was it out there?
Well, I mean, there were days it was in, around 100, but under the shade cloth, like I said, it wasn't that bad. But yeah, it got hot. But in the mornings, we were close enough to the sea, to the Mediterranean Sea, that it was pretty humid because the shade cloths would be drenched and with dew. David?
How did your passion for this start?
I would say it started when I was a kid, just in archaeology in general. I'd find some arrowheads, with my dad or grandparents. And then it wasn't until, I don't know, I think that first year, Valerie, so 14 years ago, Valerie and I, when we first got married, it was that year I learned about the biblical archaeology degree at Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary. And that sparked my interest. I'm like, well, I'm going to turn my interest in archaeology to biblical archaeology, actually do it something for good. So that's where it began. And then the first time I went to Israel to dig was in 2013. But I've always loved, just Native American artifacts and arrowheads and those kind of things. I brought a baggie of I brought some pottery back, some of the things that they was going to throw back down on the side of the hill, and I've got some handles over here that y'all can look at.
Who picks the sites that you go to? I mean, does the Israeli government just let you go anywhere, or they have confidence?
As far as excavating, we have to get their approval. We have to get a license and all those. There's a lot of paperwork that goes into that to start digging. But as far as just visiting sites, you can basically go wherever you want. But yeah, Donna?
Were any of the Jews you were around Christian Jews?
No.
Did you get to witness to any?
No, I didn't. No. I did spend one weekend with the director. He invited me to his house. Because on the weekends, all these volunteers, all the staff, this site was only like within an hour of their home. So they would just drive home for the weekend. And I would be stuck there, at this dig house all weekend if I didn't have somewhere else to go. So anyway, the director invited me to his house one weekend, and I had Shabbat with him, Friday evening, Shabbat dinner, and on Saturday, spent time with his family. So it was pretty nice. But, they knew I was a Christian. I told them, yeah, I'm a pastor. I mean, I had my, one day I wore the, what was the VVS shirt? Destination Dig shirt. So they saw, scripture and stuff all over my shirts. I was very open about who I was and, but they were just really nice people. But, yes, sir.
The valuable stuff, who keeps that?
It belongs to Israel. Yes, all of it. Yeah.
So the team is over there digging, so what would be a home run?
A home run? That mikvah was a home run, for sure. That was the highlight. Because that mikvah, the size of this thing is one of the largest in Israel. It's that big. One that you would find like in Jerusalem. Very wealthy Jewish families in that community, they used it. This was a main, very important site during the Bar Kokhba revolt. It was like the capital of that district, basically.
What was the average number of buckets your team could dig a day?
I'm sorry, say it again?
What was the average number of buckets
Oh,
you could dig a day?
oh man. I don't know. That's hard to guess at. Yeah. But it was very rocky there too, so we're also chunking these huge rocks down the hill. In certain areas we would sift. If we're coming down on an important area that's got like plaster or something like that, we would start sifting and go slower. It just kind of depends. But if you're looking at a site, an area that's just a whole bunch of kind of loose rocks that there's no organization to it, it doesn't look like a feature, we just remove that real quick to get down to some good stuff, and then we'll start sifting. Yeah.
How long is this dig gonna go on?
Oh, man. I mean, it could be 10 years. It's hard. Each project is different. The last one I was involved with at Tel Gezer, I think it was approximately a 10-year project. It just depends on what they're focused on, like what they're trying to uncover. You know, I doubt that Bar Ilan and this professor is one to dig every time period. He's more of a Roman, Hellenistic time period is his concentration. So he'll probably stop his project after he gets below that area. And then somebody else, another archaeologist, hopefully will come in, maybe somebody that's an Iron 2 or Iron 1, and they'll start a new project. Yes, sir.
The kiln, is that for bricks or cooking or?
Kiln, probably for firing pottery. That's what we thought it was for. Right here where I was digging here, I found this jewelry in a layer of ash and charcoal. So it was in a destruction layer. So it'd be interesting to go below that and see what the next phase is, the occupation period before that.
What's a dory?
I'm sorry?
What is a dory?
A dory?
Did you say that's a dory?
This is jewelry.
Oh,
Jewelry, yes. My accent's coming out. I don't know, it could be a ring, but it was kind of flat. So that's why I think it was an earring. I don't know. We think it was bronze. Not certain, but that's what we think. It looks like there was something kind of feature like right here on it, like a detailed design, but they haven't cleaned it up yet. But that was pretty amazing that they found over 100 coins that date, from this time period all the way to Byzantine and Christian Constantine time period. 60 of the coins they found on the survey before we started digging. So that means we found about 40 just from digging.
What were the coins made of? They silver or gold or copper?
There were some that, yeah, some of them were silver. I'm not sure what the others are. I'm not sure. I have to look that up. But this site was, man, I keep thinking about how Joshua chose this site. And I kept thinking, why? It's very rocky, very steep on this side. Maybe he was thinking for fortification reasons, because it would have been very hard to attack this site, which was proven later on when the Jews were fighting the Romans. So they stood their ground for a while. What I would really like to find at this site is the main gate for during Joshua's time, Iron One Age gate. And I think it would be from this direction, because down here is a little more like level, easier to approach that way. There's no way you could have entered from this side. This is very steep, and then on this back side as well. This is the north side. So that is Tel Timnat Serah. Yeah. First season. They tried to have a season last year, but they got their, for some reason, the very first day, they got their license revoked for something. So I'm glad I didn't choose to go then. That would have been a wasted plane ticket. So, any other questions? Y'all are free to look at these pottery up here if y'all want. So, all right. Well, thank you all for listening. Thank you for coming.